right, we're back. Welcome to the Switch4Good podcast. I'm Dotsie Bausch here with the lovely Alexandra Paul, my co-host.
Hello.
Hello, and we are so excited about our guest today. But first, it's a little more somber because we are just at the tail end of the most devastating fire in California history. And you were a wee bit too close to the action.
My brother actually is a firefighter, and he actually went up to the Paradise Fire and fought that.
Oh my gosh.
He came down from Oregon. But Ian and I and our two cats, we live in Pacific Palisades, which was one canyon over from the evacuations of the Malibu fire. So we did have our car was packed to evacuate, which I had never done before, actually. And it was interesting because, I'm old school. I have 13 photo albums. I was so typical. Okay, first I loaded all the photo albums, and loaded them because we might be evacuated, so we weren't told if it was that we were the next canyon on, so we should prepare. Okay. And then I loaded just cat litter, cat box with cat litter in it, and cat carriers. and
then space for Ian in the car?
And cat food. I don't know what I was thinking. Like we were going to go somewhere that we couldn't get any of that stuff. Right, exactly. It was all about the cats. And so for days, I did drive my car. I didn't leave that. For the first couple of days, we didn't leave the house because we were worried if we were away, we might not get in or we couldn't get our cats. So, but then I didn't. I was driving around with this car that had the albums sliding around the back. So it was funny. And really, I really didn't bring, it's terrible, the stuff that I probably should have thought about. But really, it was, just the albums and the cat stuff.
But thank God you guys were one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, we were. Yeah. We were very lucky. And I feel bad I know a couple people whose houses were burned, and it's really just awful. So, thank goodness for the firefighters and for like my brother and
amen.
Yeah, and thank goodness we've had rain since then, a little bit, not too much, so we don't have mudslides. So we'll see what this 2019 brings.
Yeah, we're almost there. So I got to tell you a little bit about our guest.
Yeah, please.
We're
do.
Super stoked to have her.
I've seen her. I've seen her on social media.
Yes, because you're on there all the time.
Not, but I'm hoping to get some tips from her. Actually,
no, we are. We're going to go through that. Her name is Agnes Muljadi, and AKA Artsy Agnes, as you know her on your social media account that you're on all the time. She's extraordinary. She can leap into the air, work out multiple times a day, and she looks poised and graceful while doing so. So you might have guessed she's a professional ballet dancer. She's an actress, a photographer, is how she originally started her booming Instagram account that has over 500,000 followers. She's all about promoting the plant-based movement by showcasing her incredible talents through really gorgeous dance photos. And she also maintains her ethics in the brands that she chooses to support, which I love. I got to meet her at the Orange County Veg Fest where we both participated on the athlete panel, and I was just absolutely smitten with her. So I invited her on the podcast. She represents a different kind of strength, in my opinion, one that seems so effortless, yet one that takes years and years of discipline and practice to obtain. And so I can't wait for her to share her story. So welcome, Artsy Agnes.
Hi,
so
Agnes.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
super exciting.
Oh my
to
goodness.
Be here. Yeah.
Well, you came to the plant-based movement, the plant-based lifestyle. I'm not going to call it a diet. From the health perspective first, and not all that long ago.
No.
We've had a lot of guests that are like, 30-year vegans, and Alexander was like, wow,
I always wanted to meet people who've been vegan for 30 years. So
you
just some questions.
You just met Emily
25 years.
walking out.
Wow.
Yeah. Since she was a teenager.
Wow.
Her skin is amazing.
It's
right?
amazing.
And,
Her
amazing.
skin is like, immediately I saw
20? No, she's 42.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
extraordinary. Maybe it's so
amazing. Yeah.
But anyway, it's you're like a baby vegan.
Right.
But she has an outsized impact in terms of influencing.
Exactly. But what was that spark, that aha moment, that like health
So
situation?
about 4.5 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, I found a lump on my left breast. And it was obviously very alarming for me. I was very confused. I was actually already vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for 7 years before I became vegan. But I was still consuming like cheese once in a while. I already didn't drink milk, I don't remember, but I think I already switched to like soy milk. But once in a while, like when you eat a cake or whatever, you just don't know what's in it. So
And you're not asking. But...
exactly, I cannot ask for like a list of ingredients. So that was actually the start of my plant-based journey. I got a biopsy about 2 weeks after I discovered the lump. They said that it's benign. It's like,
Oh, good.
great, you're free. You don't have to have surgery. We just have to monitor you every 6 months. And I said, great. And then I had my 6-month follow-up, and it grew. So they said, okay, this is kind of strange because it's benign. Let's do another biopsy.
Okay.
They did another biopsy. It came back benign again. And basically, I went to see so many breast surgeons. I think I went to see 9 or 10, like the best ones in Cedars-Sinai. None of them could explain to me why it was growing. I mean, all of them just said, well, you need to have a surgery to remove it because we just, it says that it's benign, but we just don't know what it is because it keeps growing.
So cut it out.
So we're just gonna, take it out. And I asked them, I said, so what's gonna happen if it grows back? And then this one surgeon said, well, we just have to take it out again. And I just didn't think that it was a sustainable answer. It was definitely not an answer that I was hoping for. And literally nobody, I saw so many different doctors, not even just like breast specialists, but I saw other like GPs, and none of them was able to tell me what was wrong with me. They said maybe a hormone imbalance. But there was no advice as far as like diet change or lifestyle change or anything like that. So I actually went to seek the best naturopath in the country. She was in New York at the time. I actually flew to New York.
What's her name? If you want to,
her name is Maggie Anderson, but I feel like she's in either Thailand or India right now. She's no longer practicing in the U.S. I have another naturopath that I'm seeing on a regular basis right now in Santa Monica. But yeah, so I basically went to her. I transferred my files. She immediately told me you have to become vegan, like yesterday. Like without even, we didn't do any tests. She just like saw my records and said that you probably have an estrogen imbalance to the point that your body's creating these growths. And you need to stop the inflammation in your body, basically.
So it's from inflammation or the estrogen in the dairy?
I think the estrogen basically caused the inflammation in my body to rise more than a normal person, more than in a normal person body. So it was like very confusing for me. I didn't really understand it. I did a lot of research. I was online for hours and hours at night because I was so confused. I didn't know who to trust. And I just wanted to make sure that, I don't mind going to surgery, but I want to make sure that we find the root cause of what's causing it, basically. So basically she said, you have to become vegan. And I remember that moment when I got off the plane. I went to my house. I took all of the food in my fridge. I dropped it off at the food bank. I went to Whole Foods and I bought everything vegan, like literally overnight.
Yeah, I think I read something where you became vegan in 20 hours.
Basically. And when you have a huge lump on your breast, you really don't have the luxury of transitioning slowly. Or, for me, it was very important that I get healthy again. And I don't care what I had to give up. It wasn't a struggle at all for me, because it's funny, every time I'm doing an interview, they always ask me like, was it a struggle because you did it in such a short amount of time? And it really wasn't. Like, everything felt so natural to me. Like, I like the taste of vegan food so much better. Like, I like vegan milk much better than regular milk, just even from the perspective of taste, without even knowing like the health benefits or anything, but just like naturally I felt good eating the food that I started to eat.
And
what
such
happened?
an intense purpose behind it.
Yeah.
That is going to drive us. Go ahead.
I just was wondering, so when you did give up, I shouldn't say give up, you actually gained, but when you gained all this beautiful food into your life as a vegan, what happened with the lump?
So what happened is, not only I had to become vegan, I had to avoid soy, which was very tricky because soy is a very, it's a staple
item in the vegan diet. So
in the vegan food,
so they wanted you to stay away
meats and things, right?
Right. Or like tofu. Like every time I go to a restaurant, they always ask.
So they wanted you to stay away from phytoestrogens and estrogens. They just really wanted it all out because it was.
And I cannot do I have to be gluten-free immediately. So like literally, it was
Wow.
like a lot of like green juices. I mean, like 10 days of cleansing, 10 days, green juices. Like I didn't eat a single thing for 10 days. I felt amazing. I mean, I felt horrible like the second and third day, but once I finished the 10-day period, oh my goodness, it was like I had a new body. I mean, I just felt so much lighter. I lost weight, and just everything just felt right. Whereas before that, I felt like there was something wrong in my body, but I just didn't know what it was. Like I didn't really have the knowledge to like basically assess my own health. And so I did that. So I did a cleanse, and then I started incorporating like whole food, plant-based diet. Like I don't do all the junk, like the junk food, like you can be vegan, but still very unhealthy. So I basically ate like raw salad in the morning. I tried to eat raw at night. I would give myself one cooked meal during the day. That's primarily vegetables. So I did that for maybe about 4 months before my next 6-month checkup. My lump went from 4 centimeters to 2 centimeters.
Oh, after it had been growing for a long time, now it receded.
It basically started.
There you go.
It was a miracle. I couldn't believe it. I mean, my doctor was shocked.
Your regular
my breast
doctor.
doctor was looking at me, what have you been doing?
And when you told your doctor what you had been doing, what did your doctor say?
She said that she has been advising her patients. She's a breast cancer surgeon. So she said that she has been advising her patients, not necessarily to go vegan, but to give up dairy. I don't know if it was like, because she didn't give that advice to me. But so I don't know if she just recently discovered that right before I saw her or something, but because that advice would have been very helpful for me. But I didn't really get that until I actually went to see a naturopath, basically.
It reminds me of the parable, and I'll probably butcher it, but it just goes something like there's a pond of fish, and they all start growing different tumors, whether cancerous or benign, and we just keep cutting them off, and nobody ever stops to ask what's in the water.
Exactly.
And that's
precisely
the same thing as what you're explaining. Like, it's like, we'll just keep cutting it out. What if it grows back? We'll just keep cutting it out. It's like, excuse me?
Right.
You're going to keep cutting open my body? What if that were your body? Then they probably start asking the questions.
For myself, I mean, at the size that my tumor was at, I would have had to have a partial mastectomy because it was, the size of it was huge, even though it was not cancerous.
Yeah.
So when I basically when the size was reduced to a manageable size, then I immediately went for surgery to kind of remove it.
And this was 4 years ago?
No, that my surgery was maybe about 3 years.
Oh, okay. And it hasn't come back?
It hasn't come back. I do have what they call like little benign growths, less than one
breast.
Yeah, like less than 1 centimeters. So I guess the rule is unless it reaches 2 centimeters, you're basically.
It's like fibrous tissue.
Fibrous tissue.
I have
exactly.
that too for whatever reason.
I mean, and I'm still trying to get my estrogen under control. It's an everyday, battle for me, to be very honest.
Because it's part genetics. I mean, you just respond to it or maybe produce. Okay.
Yeah. So I need to always look for, the right things to eat, not just vegan, but like going a step further, soy-free, gluten-free, no sugar. I mean,
wow, that's a challenge. And you also, as a ballet dancer, you train. So how did your body react when you became vegan and got so much healthier?
Yeah.
But you have
I lost a lot of weight. My ballet teacher was very happy about that. I was never born with like the perfect long, like ballet body. But I noticed immediately that my skin cleared up, and I had a very problematic skin before that. So that was the first basically sign that I got. But definitely, like taking a 3-hour ballet class was no longer a problem for me. Before I was always like out of breath, or like by the end of class I would be tired or cranky or irritable, and it just wasn't a problem at all. Like my endurance, my stamina, everything, like my energy level is much more constant instead of like hitting like the highs and the lows throughout the day. So the benefits were amazing. And I've had like other dancers come up to me and ask me like, what did you do? Like, what kind of changes did you make? And it's great to be able to share with, you know, the same people in your profession that you don't have to like eat meat and dairy in order to be an athlete. It's not.
Are there a lot of dancers veg or vegan? Would you say?
I've seen a lot recently in major companies. Like I know two of my personal friends they're dancing with Colorado Ballet right now. They just got their apprentice contract, I think, and they're both vegan. I can't remember the names, but I know that there are like big time ballerinas in major companies, not like regional companies, but like a major company in New York City that is actually they're vegan.
Yeah,
so
and they have great stamina and
have
great strength.
stamina.
They're training all day long. And so, yes.
The only thing about like a vegan diet that I think we need to be careful, only because we're dancers. I mean, it's, you know, like if we gain 2 pounds, we feel it at the bar. We feel it when we're being lifted from the floor. I mean, it's very, very hard. And I think a lot of the vegan food, because there's so much nutrition in it, they're very dense. And so you just need to sort of time what you eat in the right manner. Like I mostly eat after I train, because if I eat a lot before I train, then I just started feeling like sort of heavier. That was the only thing that I noticed that's the difference. I think.
But wouldn't that be the same if you were eating anything? Or are you saying that when you eat vegan, you have to eat more to be able to, because it's calorie it's not as calorie dense,
but
so to get more
exactly
but calorie dense, so you have to eat more to I understand.
So I mean, that's why, like, I think I remember at the SoCal Veg Fest, everybody was like, nah, we're not tracking our calories.
I was just going to ask you about that, because you said you weigh and measure, and what does that look like?
So I have an app. It's called the Fitness app, I think. MyFitnessPal. Yeah. Right. So I just kind of like track what I eaten so far during the day, so I can make modification along the way. Like, so I was like, okay, so now today I've had like so much carbs, so I'm gonna try to get more protein for the rest of the day, or just monitor.
It's like an awareness tool.
A little awareness. I don't have a natural sense of portion. Like, it's very scary. I mean, like when I eat like vegan donuts, it's like after 2 donuts, it's like, wait, how many calories was that? Like, I just I don't get full easily. So that's why I need to really
we don't get full on 2 donuts either, though,
Get full on 2 donuts.
I know, that's child's play. Oh my God. I write down my calories too. I use Chronometer, and I just, it helps me just because, I don't know, I feel calm after I write down, because I know that I'm not fooling myself about the calories or the nutrition part of what I'm eating. Exactly. When you write it down, you own it. And so I've done it for years, and I recommend to my clients is that when I'm health coaching to do it too, if they are struggling with, eating too much, or if they don't have a mindfulness.
It
helps with mindfulness.
Especially when you go out with friends. I find that to be the most challenging. Like, we would go to a vegan restaurant and it's like 7 appetizers. And
I know, because you want to try everything on the menu.
Because you want to try, and you don't think that they're bad for you. So it's, like I need to be mindful of.
You sound like you have a real grasp on your attitude towards food. Now, the ballet world, it's known for having eating disorders, and a lot of disordered eating.
Right.
Cigarettes take the place of food. And tell me about what's going on in the ballet world, and how you, as a Instagram influencer, because I understand a lot of your followers are ballerinas. Let me just say that you now have 500,000 followers. I think you mentioned that, but also it's doubled in the last few years, just the last couple years.
The last 3 years. And then now I think Instagram is playing with their algorithm again, and now the growth is stopped.
Well, don't worry.
You can't ever get ahead of that thing, though, right? It's like made to make you crazy.
Yeah. But so what do you see in the ballet world in terms of this disordered eating?
I think I've seen, it's so hard to tell. If you are dancing for a main company in either New York or Chicago, mostly on the East Coast, we don't really have big company here in LA. I mean, there's Los Angeles Ballet, but I wouldn't consider it, in the same rank as New York City Ballet or American Ballet Theater. If you are dancing with those companies, there is a certain aesthetic that cannot be compromised in terms of how you look physically, the length of your legs, the length of your arms, the length of your neck. I mean, those things have to be present.
But those things don't, no matter what you eat, you can't change that.
You cannot change that. That's the problem, right? So then I think what went wrong is because there's only so many jobs in the ballet world. I mean, there's really so many companies, especially the good ones, and there's so many dancers, like such a huge pool of talent. I think dancers start to try to modify how they look in order to get a job. And I think that's when you get in trouble, because even if you can somehow manage to do that, I wonder how long can you sustain that? And then if it's healthy for you, if you're actually going to be happy
performing.
and still be
That's like the
performing,
thing
like every night, 5 days a week. I mean, I think they only
Is there
have...
still a lot of cigarette smoking? I used to see that when I lived in New York.
I see that mostly with my ballet teachers. I don't see it in the
older generation.
I don't see it, like among like the young ballerinas, like or like ballerinas my age. But I see it more like the Russian ballet teachers. They're very much into that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's also cultural. I think they really believe that smoking cigarettes, you can like not eat and just smoke cigarettes, which is.
That's crazy.
Gonna grow some lumps. More lumps. Don't do that. Not suggested.
Now, a lot of people they go vegan because they think they'll lose weight. I mean, we've seen that. They don't necessarily stick
People
to
use
it.
it as a diet, not a lifestyle.
Do you find that your followers, do they ask you a lot of questions about that?
Right. Unfortunately, it's kind of like a negative trend, and I hate to say that it's giving vegan like a bad rep. I think you have to go vegan for the right reasons. You have to really understand why you're going vegan and not just some cosmetic like reason, because when it doesn't happen, then you just give it up completely.
It's not sustaining that
and
way.
and it's very hard to convince those people to become vegan again, because they wanted to do it to lose weight and they instead gain weight because they're eating vegan junk food and vegan processed food. And then it's very hard to convince them that no, this is actually healthy for you. Because they would come back to you and say, well, but I gained weight since I became vegan.
And you'll have people say that to you.
Oh, yeah. We have messages from, 12, 13-year-olds, like, dancers, young dancers. Oh, I tried to become vegan for, 2 weeks and I gained weight. I said, what do you eat? And it's like vegan meat, vegan, like everything is in a can, everything is processed. What about salad? What about raw food? They will never touch that. I mean, especially when you're like under, you're a teen. I mean, they don't think that kind of food is cool. Like the raw salad.
When they go out with their friends or something. Yeah.
Right. So it's I think
How do you guide them?
So usually what we do is I have a team of like assistants that they put together like meal preps and, okay, so instead of eating this, like, why don't you try eating this for like a week and see how you feel after that.
Okay.
And it's a very hard thing to sell. I mean, especially if they've already tried it and then they gain weight, or they said that they started feeling very tired, or, oh, now my doctor said that I don't get vitamin B's, and like, there's so many.
Well, they need to take a B12 supplement for sure.
Which is very easy to
Even
solve.
meat eaters,
I mean,
right.
it's a very easy thing to solve.
Yeah.
It's in the health system. I actually think that the American healthcare system wants to keep us sick instead of healthy.
Well, Dotsie and I were talking earlier today about how if you're starting eating vegan and then something happens, like you feel tired one morning, you immediately blame the fact that you're vegan and not the fact that you went to bed at midnight.
Exactly.
So
and you've already been vegan for 3 days. So it's not even long enough to like...
Or you have the sniffles and you're like, oh my gosh, it must be the vegan. I gotta go
I
back.
think we talked about that in our interview at the SoCal Veg Fest. Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, but yeah, there's a lot of misconception about veganism, especially among like ballet professionals. I think it's still a very tricky thing to sell. I hate to say that. I mean, for people who are over 20, I think it's easier because they're in charge of their life. They're in charge of what they eat. But I think the target should be before you eat, like you hit 18. I think that's that's going to be the future generation of dancers. Yeah. And that's very, very tricky. And then you're dealing with parents who think that you're, telling a bunch of lies to their kids,
Making them unhealthy.
Most of those accounts are parent monitored because they're so young. So you know, so they would actually see our meal like recommendation and would have like 200 questions about it. Like, what is this? What, this is not making any sense. You're actually, you know, this is not healthy. This is not a healthy diet for my child. It's
What's
very
the most
tricky
heart-wrenching thing that you've gotten on Instagram from like I would assume it would be a young person, but maybe who knows, right? Like
we get a lot of DMs, like messages. We got one from this one girl in Colombia, like maybe a year ago, who was suicidal and actually almost killed herself. And basically said, I looked at your Instagram today and found a reason to sort of go on, which a lot of people thought were like, wow, that's like amazing. But I feel so sad whenever I hear that.
It is amazing. Well, tell us about what your Instagram is, what kind of messaging you're putting through and how you curate it.
I think my main message on Instagram is sustainability and just living a mindful life, from what you eat, what you put on your body, what you surround yourself with, whether it's like the furniture in my house are all sustainable and ethically made. There's no piece of furniture with leather in it. So I just want to make sure that everything is vegan. And not only that, I want to make sure that whoever made it was paid fairly. So I think fair trade certification is very important to me. Making sure that, just the sustainability of it, because there's so much consumption going on out there, not just with food, but with fashion and everything. And it's just so damaging to our environment. So that's my primary message. If you really want to buy something, you should ask yourself, do you need it? Are you going to use it at least 30 times? And if it's a no, you don't need it.
I've never heard that about 30 times. Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow. So you represent a lot of brands. So do they get put through that same lens?
So basically when I work with brands, there's rules of engagement in the beginning.
Good for
where
you.
I basically tell them I'm not your normal influencer, as you can tell from my feed.
Which is why you're influential in the first place.
So, like recently we stopped doing any kind of sales, discount codes, affiliate links, any kind of sales language, encouraging people to buy whatever it is that we're putting on our, like my manager and we actually made a conscious decision to stay away from any kind of.
Why?
I think what I want to do is, this is something that I believe in. This is a product that I believe in. You go make your own decision about that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you need to get it. I want you to
push. Just look at it. You present it, and
exactly. I actually just did a post yesterday. Today's Tuesday. Yesterday, yes, for a jewelry company, and it's all of their items are made in the U.S. Ethically and sustainably, and I didn't even mention anything about the jewelry. I just basically put something like, because it was a picture of me looking in the mirror, putting the earring on, and I said, look in the mirror, that's your competition. And I didn't even mention anything about the jewelry. They got so many new followers and so many requests about their product.
So you just added the jewelry company, but you didn't talk about it.
I didn't talk about it.
Okay.
So I think when you don't try to push something,
Same with veganism. If you want to turn people vegan, right?
Exactly. You cannot build walls with people. It's not going anywhere. I mean, I know it's very. I feel like in the beginning when I just started becoming vegan, like I had so many problems with people who weren't vegans, and it was just going nowhere. I mean, it literally was going nowhere other than making me upset and making me irritable. And now I just use those conversations as a place of starting the conversation.
Yeah.
Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about skipping turkey this year? Have you thought about doing tofurkey? I mean, whatever that is, and just be more accepting of where they are, because wherever they are, we used to be there. I used to be there.
Yeah, all of it. Almost very few people. I don't know anybody who was actually raised vegan. We have had a couple guests.
We just know Siba Johnson vegan since birth. It's the
Oh,
only
Siba,
person that
yeah.
I know
Yeah,
that
Siba.
everything.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of veg since birth, like Nima Delgado's veg since
Right.
birth. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's more
Tyler,
of that.
too,
Yeah,
yeah.
Nick. But yeah, the vegan since birth is
It
we're
does
gonna start
look-
seeing it though, right? As we move along.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
That's
the babies
right,
are
'cause-
being,
Yes.
right. They're raising them right now.
So that's a really interesting ethic that I really am impressed by. What other things do you, when you come to a company, you say this is what you need? A lot of people will just represent any old company, but you obviously have very high standards.
Yeah.
I've turned down more offers than I've actually said yes.
And
in
you have
and I've
represented
had like
300
brands. But that's not even half of what I've been offered, so
Wow.
it's a lot of no's. Like Uggs one time were basically emailing me every month. No. If you are interested in developing a vegan shoe line, I will be able to talk to you. So they said, okay, maybe next year. So I don't know, maybe next year it will happen. But McDonald's, I'm not even sure why they even got
That's insane. Are they even reading your feed?
I'm just like, okay.
Now, if there was a vegan something at McDonald's, would you?
I can't.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just wondering. You're drawing lines.
Really crossing the line.
For Uggs, you might do a certain boot, but for McDonald's.
No, because it's carcinogenic that you're putting in your body. Right. I mean, I just cannot do that. And I actually do think that they're going to get hate mails from my followers. I really do. Like when I say no, it's not like for my ego. I really do think that it's not the best partnership. And
for them,
I think it's actually going to backfire for the brand. So, so I said a lot of no's and it's fine, because the right jobs will come along. I've always had that faith, so. And then I also explained to them, because most of them want to like give me so many things, 3 packages of stuff that I don't need. I mean, why? I mean, my closet has 49 pieces in it. Every time I do an interview, I wear the same thing. I really don't care. I mean, like we don't.
She's a girl after your own heart.
Yeah, that's right. A girl after my own heart.
Yeah, and if I add something into my closet, I take something out and donate it. So like I'm very, very mindful about my closet.
Where did you get that? Did you read something, or because that doesn't? A lot of vegans are like that, but it's not. You could be vegan and have 10,000 vegan shoes.
Yeah. Oh, I have such a potential for that. That's probably the reason why I became like a minimalist right away. It was so funny because right after I became vegan, I was at this pop-up shop, like a small brands, like locally made. And somebody came up to me and I was wearing a Louis Vuitton bag. And she said, so you're vegan, but it's okay for you to wear a Louis Vuitton bag. Do you know what it's made of? And like, it was so awkward. Like I felt like, oh my God, I felt so bad. And I felt like I failed the community or something. Yeah, it was just so bad. Oh. And so and it didn't even have.
Were they aggressive or just?
No, they weren't aggressive. No. But she was making a point, like, and she said, why do you think that it's okay for you not to eat meat and like wear it on your shoulder? Yeah, I mean, you need to think about that. And so I said, okay. And it was really hard, like for me to take that. But then I went home and I did so much research. I watched all the documentaries about true cost and everything about like the fashion industry that I could find, and just sort of educated myself. And after that, easy. I donated everything, all of my leather bags.
So that helped you detach from your belongings, right. And now you don't feel a need to have a lot of belongings now.
No. I mean, when I see people right now, when I see other people wearing brand names, like the first thing that comes to my mind is, was that item made with dignity? And most likely the answer is no.
So it's a beautiful question for the animals and the humans involved,
and for the humans
right?
involved.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
The Rana Plaza killed 3,000 people in their factory. I mean, we really shouldn't have something like this happen in 2016 or 15 or whatever.
Is there a site that you go to? Because I know that to check if something's vegan, like a cosmetic, I can go to Bunny Free. I can go to PETA has a list of companies that test or do not test. Where can our listeners and viewers go to find where something is free trade and sustainably made, etc.?
My good friend Sika Schmitz, I think you know her as well. She is the curator of the Fair Trade Fashion Show. We just did one last week, I think 2 weeks ago. It's the 4th annual Fair Trade Fashion Show. Ben Affleck's daughter was there. She spoke about human child labor. So, and I think that was the most hopeful thing I've ever seen in a long while, to like see 12, 13-year-olds engaged in a conversation that needs to be had right now. Right. So she actually compiles a fair trade directory. And with every brand, it would say if it's a female founder, it's divided into different categories, not just vegan. Right. Everything is vegan, but then then you see other subcategories. Like this was started by a female founder. This was, an organization that tries to feed the hungry children in Africa or something. So I find her list to be the most accurate, and she doesn't necessarily sell the items, but then I can go to the website of the brands.
And how do we find that?
I think it's called the Fair Trade fashionshow.com.
They could, if someone just gaggled.
And then what's Sika's website? Because she's an artist herself and makes jewelry and clothing. She's amazing.
She's her website is called beadandreel.com. So BEADN and then REEL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, she's extraordinary. What have you found through your followers that is like the most successful motivator for people to go plant-based or go vegan?
Interesting. Usually illnesses. Like if
super similar to
I don't know.
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So through health.
yeah.
So because you came to veganism through health.
Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I like energetically I
Makes
attract
sense.
these people. I have no idea.
Right.
But
Well, maybe you're able to tell a personal story.
Right. So like, I've talked to a lot of people who have like breast cancers, lung cancers, just like, people who have been told that they only have 3 months to live and or like somebody they know, like maybe not them personally, because most of the people who are following my account are pretty young, but like their mom or their grandfather, and they would recover. It's the most amazing thing. I mean, just like blood cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer.
Yeah.
I know a liver cancer.
Well, we know
survivor.
liver cancer.
That's a
yeah.
common one, I think, as far as like cleaning up your diet.
Forks Over
That should
Knives and
return.
Crazy Sexy Cancer are both 2 documentaries people can look at to see the health effects of going vegan, especially
Right.
vis-a-vis cancer. I'm sure there are others too. Right.
I think when your health is in jeopardy, you just don't you don't have a lot of luxury to be picky about
No.
what you eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because it was personally hit you as a vegan, your health, and that's how you transitioned to veganism, is that the way in that you more normally go, or do you ever come in through the other angles? You were talking earlier about the right way to go vegan, and that wanting to lose weight is really not a long-term.
No.
You're not going to really stick to it.
You're not going to stick to it. Exactly.
But
yeah.
what about the environment or animals? Do you use that too?
I always tell people that they need to educate themselves because that's what made me stay vegan. I mean, I think I entered the plant-based diet lifestyle because of my health, but I think during that time I really educated myself, on factory farming, on like everything is just so unsustainable, these practices. And also I did a lot of activism work through a restaurant called Olac. I don't know if you
Olac here in Los Angeles. That's
downtown
AU
LA.
and then another word LAC. Yeah.
So I'm there usually 3-4 times a week.
Oh, great.
So good.
And it's such a front because it's really not a restaurant. That restaurant does a lot more than just providing food. I mean, they do a lot of amazing, amazing work. So through all of that, just like seeing the pigs at the shelter. I mean, it's just at the slaughterhouse. I mean, how can you go back after that?
Do you come to the pig vigil? Because I go to the pig vigil.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, I've only gone once.
Oh, okay. Because I know Olac, they generally meet, and Chef Ito is
where I've
the
gone
chef.
Chef
before.
Ito.
I've
I
gone
actually
twice.
have never gone with Chef Ito. I went with
All
another.
3 of us will go one time. How's that?
That would be good.
And you're
It
here
was-
one night.
Yeah. It was very hard for me. How is it for you?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a trip.
I mean,
I was there on Sunday, and I did have a little cry, but then because I looked into the eye of the pig, and when you really look at them, it can be difficult, but they were really thirsty too. And I didn't expect that because it was kind of chilly, but they were really thirsty. So
They still haven't had water for 21 hours.
yeah.
Will you guys just tell a little bit about it? I mean, we've talked about it, I think, one other time, but just for new listeners, what's a pig vigil?
you basically go to a pig slaughterhouse and just try to give them water and comfort them before they get slaughtered. I
And
mean,
also,
it's
yeah,
very
bear witness. Bear
to
Where
bear
they come in on
witness.
the
Yeah.
trucks.
The trucks come in, and actually, the city of Vernon, where the Farmer John slaughterhouse is, where the LA Pig Vigil, that's managed by Animal Save, LA Animal Save, it comes in. It's managed by the cops. Actually, the city of Vernon stopped the truck for 2 minutes.
Yes.
So it's a very, and actually, the cop that
peaceful.
worked on Sunday is vegan.
Yeah, he went vegan through the...
But I hadn't seen this cop before.
Oh, you hadn't? Okay, the one
Unless his hair got grayer in the last year, because there was
happens,
other
you know.
people. Yeah, I know, right?
We die ours.
So
He's a triathlete. I took him Miyoko's cheese, that thing, the one that would... Yeah, we started talking...
you did?
Whichever one it is. I sounds like all 3 of them have gone vegan, maybe. But
Oh, because there are 2 that I know are vegan, and then there's been new people and this
Sure.
and that, and we're just expecting them to go vegan at some point. But yeah, you know what? I should bring some Miyoko's cheese to the ones who aren't vegan or something packaged so they know that I haven't poisoned it because I'm some radical, but something packaged, but still. Anyway, they stop for 2 minutes and you can water and document
and just be
the
there.
slaughter. And
because they've probably never had one single solitary moment of kindness in their entire lives.
And I'm not even sure they view this as kindness because they're so freaked out by people. And sometimes I worry that our presence, sometimes we wake them. And I feel bad about waking them when I want them just to sleep because that's probably their happiest time is when they're asleep. So but the other part about documenting is also so important, and so that people see it. I
agree.
And so yes, please come again because I know,
yeah, for sure, we should all go.
Yeah, exactly. But and it's so wonderful that you have such an influence through Instagram, and you're using it in such a wonderful way to represent brands that you resonate with, and yeah. I think I don't really post pictures from the big vigil. I try to stay away from that. I think there's already enough activism on Instagram in that form that I don't really want to be another voice in this sort of like massive darkness. What I want to do is just share what I love about being vegan. So the positive,
so like the vegan clothes, the vegan supplements, and I just vegan recently met with Alicia Silverstone, and I had such a great time talking about like her vegan supplements and how it's made, and it's made with 100% real fruit. And so that kind of stuff I want to share because I think it's not just all gloomy. And I mean, seriously, there's a lot of problems that still need to be fixed, but I think that there's this beautiful side, on the other side that I don't think a lot of people get to see because what they see is a lot of the struggle.
I think that's really interesting because a lot of the vegan activism is about you shouldn't eat meat because it's so cruel. Instead of what Agnes is presenting is going vegan is beautiful.
And cool and wonderful. And no, it is. I mean, it's so people I think are inherently good, right? So the industry preys on those beautiful hearts of almost every single person, and they don't want that to be happening to the animals. And so they know that if they view it, that they'll probably have to make a dietary change. And so people don't want to do that. They don't want to see that. They don't want to feel that. They don't want to experience it in their...
So then they just go...
Yeah, then it just shuts down. But with what you're doing, it's like a whole new magical world, right? It's like Narnia. And when I look at your feed, I'm like, I want to be there. I want to be a friend with Agnes. I want to do that.
But your feed is beautiful.
Thank you.
The photos of you in leaping, and I don't know the term jeté,
grand jeté,
and with a product in your hand. It's really it's an inviting way to bring people in.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I want to be able to show people that you can still be strong. This whole thing about protein, I think we talked about that in the I'm so over it. Like every time I tell anybody that I'm a dancer, the first thing that they ask me, where do you get your protein?
And what do you say?
Oh my God.
What do you say?
Quinoas, vegetables, kale. I mean, like what? And I really like I think the doctor that was at the SoCal Veg Fest. I don't remember.
Dr. Garth Davis.
Yes. He said, I don't look at food and say, oh, this is protein. I just look at food as food.
And with the nutrients.
We don't look at it as macronutrients. This is carbohydrate. This is fat. This is like, no, it's a beautiful plate of food.
It's more than just
energetic and
protein. It's got protein, fat. It's every food has more than just one
one macronutrient, or micro, of course.
I like to say actually, I get it where the rhinoceroses get it from, and the
that's
elephants,
a great thing to say too.
and the giraffes.
I'm going to use that from
those
that was a good one.
The biggest, strongest animals on the planet.
Yeah.
So,
how about you? I know. You mentioned real quick when you came in here that you are actually kind of going back to your roots on Instagram.
Right. Yes.
And going back to the art and the photography, because you said you were a photographer when you got started.
I was a photographer for a long time. Yeah, for 5 years I had my photography business before I actually even entered the Instagram space. I mean, I was like selling photography items, like my prints and everything. And that was kind of like my second love after ballet. I really love photography. I really love like creating this like different world. I was not one of those photographers that want to make you look like how you look in real life. Like I had no interest in that. Like I always want to take people into this like my imaginary world. It was like so crazy.
I'm available.
Like 5 days of like building sets and everything just by myself, like with my friends. And I really love that. But because my Instagram took off in such a short amount of time, the reality of business, came into play. And, I had to get a manager, and I had to have a team of people behind me to support, the operations side of it. And that served us well to a point, because now everything's starting to feel very static to me. Even just like the different products that I'm presenting. I will never do a post for a brand that I don't align with, but at the same time, at the end of the day, those are still products. So I'm going to take a little of a step back from that and really, really just do super exclusive partnerships with the brands that are very much that I use in my daily life, and cut out the noise a little bit.
Do you take your own pictures? Do you set up the camera? And
lately I haven't, and that's like the thing that I really miss, because
your team takes the pictures of you,
right? And it has to look somewhat commercial. It has to look, somewhat.
Yeah, the quality of your photographs is really very high.
Thank you so much. I work with a lot of really good photographers. I mean, that's really not my work at all, like at least for the last 2-3 years. If you scroll all the way down to like the beginning of my feed, then you will see like the pictures that I took. And
how many posts have you done over the last 6 years?
It says right now 800, but I actually deleted a bunch of posts, because when I
was gonna say,
because when I became vegan and I wanted to focus on vegan partnerships, there were a lot of Reebok collaborations, a lot of brands, like big brands that I did, like
L'Oreal.
Did you right, and all website, like beauty brands that are not cruelty free, and I just didn't want them to get like hate messages from my followers, so I sort of deleted a bunch of them to kind of start fresh with what I want to do moving forward. And that was the other challenge. I mean, by the time I became vegan, my account was already at like 200,000, so I didn't start as a vegan account,
right?
And so now there was this overwhelming task to think about, okay, am I going to lose followers? Like what part of this can we salvage and like take forward with us? And knowing that they're not going to be seeing the same brands on my account anymore. They're not going to be seeing the same, bless you. They're not going to be seeing the same, approach to my life.
Were you honest about it in your posts?
I had a very, I don't remember about doing a big post about becoming vegan, but I did have a very honest conversation with my manager and my team, and said that I can no longer accept collaborations that are not in line with my ethics. They freaked out, of course. I mean,
they freaked out, and then now they understand, right? About how valuable that decision was.
It's funny because I'm actually not with the same manager anymore. I have a new manager now, but like, even when I left my previous manager, she basically said, wow, she said, you actually had a vision about how you wanted to do this, and you executed it. So
I think well done, it's such a great lesson that when we follow our own values and we keep presenting who we really are to the world, we will be able to attain whatever it is we want from it, whether it is followers or money or
truth is power.
It's really when you are aligned.
I literally thought that I was going to lose so many followers. I thought that my account was going to crumble. I didn't even know if I'm going to be able to get new followers. And then after I became vegan, I basically got 300,000 followers in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
So what's your advice to the young gals out there that are hearing you say, like, I didn't want to lose followers, or I wanted to gain more followers, knowing you the little bit that I do, that is not what drives you at all. And but in this culture of Instagram, right, the young ones, that's definitely something that could be driving them. What's your advice to them to be hopefully their authentic self,
right?
And enjoy Instagram without getting so wrapped up in the follower game?
I think when you're a full-time blogger, it's very challenging because your pay is based on your following, and it's based on the engagement that you can produce out of those sponsored posts. So it's very, very challenging to keep your integrity intact. But at the same time, I've always asked myself before I enter any collaboration, is this going to add something into the bigger picture? Not just today, tomorrow, or my next paycheck, but what is this going to add to my entire brand identity? And I think if I can't find an answer, that's a good sign that you shouldn't be moving forward, because it's not worth it. It's not worth getting $2,000, $3,000. I don't know however much you're getting paid for a post at a substantial amount of follower rate. It's not worth it to basically jeopardize what you've built for years. at least for me, it's not worth it. Now, there's a lot of followers out there with a lot of fake followers. So that becomes a very different game because they haven't really spent the time to build a following. They made it very quickly and they don't see a lot to lose. Whereas if you had spent the time like I did for 6 years, like doing it day in and day out, like you would never do anything to jeopardize your voice and your brand identity. But for people who are just buying followers, which will be easily spot by brands, I mean, there's so many things that they do.
Yeah, they can tell by the
comments, by like
and
the number of engagement that doesn't make sense to like the ratio between following and like, you know, it's very easy to check. I think they're very much into short-term gain, and you know, a lot of people are very frustrated. Like a lot of like legitimate influencers are very frustrated that these new bloggers are coming into the space knowing that there's money to be made, and they just start buying followers without any rhyme or reason. I mean, they would have like 300,000 followers in like less than a year, which is not possible under, I don't care who you are. I mean, like even if you're super famous, like it wouldn't make any sense at all. So, right now, I think there's a lot of things in place to make sure that that type of successes is going to be very short term.
Yeah.
Even from the brand side, I think they know how to spot those bloggers. But for the ones that have built it legitimately, I would just ask yourself the question, like, how is this going to contribute to my voice? And if it's not contributing to what you believe in, what you're passionate about, I mean, I'm actually in the same crossroad right now. Even with the kind of mindfulness that I've practiced, you know, over the years, you evolve as a person, your account evolves, and you have to constantly take notes and take stock to what's working and what's not working, and always like trying, like for me, it's like following my bliss is very important. I always try to follow what I love to do. So, and that's kind of the answer for me. So,
and the same, I know, I love that. It's like the same thing then for the young girl that's not doing it as a business. I'm just the, you know, the young girl that's, you know, like doing me it for fun on Instagram. Like, like to not be follower mongering.
Followers mean nothing.
Okay,
you can have 1 million followers if nobody's asking for your advice on anything. What is that? I mean, what, like you have 1 million people following you silently. I don't understand what is the value of that. And certainly a brand will not see a value in that. I mean, even if you don't want to work with a brand and you just want to have an Instagram account with like a huge amount of following, why? I mean, there's better things out there to do. I mean, if
right.
I mean, you can like get off your computer and just actually make a difference in real life. I mean, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do that.
So well said. Here's the advice. This has been so much fun. You'll come back and see us, I hope. Of course. Because we got more to dive into.
Fun. Yes, of course. Oh my goodness.
Such a short show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
It's really great. So where can people find you?
Yeah. So my handle is Artsy Agnes on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And my website is artsyagnes.com.
And that's ARTSY, Agnes, AGNES. Good.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You guys.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switch4good.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to switch for good. This is the future.